I think the president is doing the right thing by being open to any ideas that might come up in the Democratic caucus in the House. But it's hard to imagine something significant that would make it through both the House and the Senate be signed by this president. Among the reasons is that the president can do an awful lot through his executive authorities at HHS, as he's already done on drug prices in Medicare. So I think it's more likely he'll go that route, address the problems, take the credit, and Congress really won't play much at all.
But is there political pressure on these lawmakers now at this point, Jared? If you know that health care is the priority, and a lot of people are lumping health care into their economic concerns. They're saying, I can't afford prescription drugs. I can't afford my insurance premiums. My premiums keep going up at this point. Is there political pressure on everybody in Washington now to figure out a system that makes American voters happier with their health care?
Well, I very much agree with the way you framed up the question. This election really made this stuff a kitchen table issue, if it wasn't already. And in fact, one of the things we learned is that the Medicaid part of the Affordable Care Act of Obamacare is just massively expanding now. 37 states. We got 3 new red states that approved the expansion. And so, yes, I think the message, as much as you put it, Contessa, the extent to which politicians react to it, I mean, Doug is exactly right to predict gridlock. However, the president has consistently talked about lowering drug prices, and while there's some that he can do by executive action, there's a lot more they could do if they decided to get together legislatively on that. He definitely would find the Democrats to be willing partners, but you've got a very powerful pharmaceutical lobby that's going to be pushing the other way.
So Doug, it's Dom here. As we talk about the idea that we could see this evolution of Congress to be a split one that works to compromise, where are we going to see the action early on in the next legislative agenda being set? Is it going to be things like health care? Is it going to be infrastructure? Is it going to be banking regulation? I mean, where exactly will we see the action going forward in 2019, at least early on?
I think really there are going to be 2 kinds of things. Early on, I think the House Democrats have essentially an obligation to lay down their marker for what they view as the things that are important and exactly the way they should be addressed. So those are big bills that come out of the House with Democratic votes and then aren't really legislative vehicles in the Senate. But they make the point that Democrats need to make, which is, look, we got elected. That's a victory for us, and this is what we stand for. Then they'll turn to things that might have a chance of making it through the Senate and getting signed by the president. I think all of those are much, much smaller in scope and ambition. We've seen infrastructure stall repeatedly. I don't think it's really going to be that different in this Congress. And I think it's important to remember that the president went all in to deliver a Republican Senate as his firewall, and he's unlikely to turn right around and undercut them when he needs them to confirm judges and his appointments.
You know, Jared, I think I found myself thinking that Tuesday marked the end of the midterm election and Wednesday the start of the 2020 election. And I think that's mostly what people are going to be pointing to. Talk to me a little bit about the idea that the victory of the Democrats for the House is in some way the best thing that could possibly have happened to this president, because as he certainly signaled yesterday, he now has someone he can blame if the economy starts to slow. And he can blame the Fed as well. Interesting.
I was going to say, he's already been laying that on Jay Powell. I think you're raising a great point, because one of the things that are just baked into these numbers, and to me, this is one of the most important economic outcomes of the midterms, is that the fiscal stimulus that's been ongoing due to the tax cuts and the spending all on the deficit is going to start to fade by the end of next year. Now, if Republicans had held everything, you might have seen more of that, more deficit spending to juice the economy when the current juice kind of runs out later in 2019. But I don't think you're going to see that right now. So, yeah, that certainly is a potential dynamic where the president blames the House for not doing more fiscal stimulus once what we have fades. The other thing, though, that I think came out of this is that a couple of Democrats in the Senate who won, I'm thinking of maybe Sherrod Brown, Amy Klobuchar, they look like they can command rural votes in a way that I'm sure a lot of 2020 Democrats are thinking about.
You know, the other thing is minimum wage, and we're going to have to wait and see whether the president, who said on the campaign trail that he would support a $10 federal minimum wage.
Yeah, on alternate Tuesdays, he's for that idea.
I know, but, you know, wages are going to have to go up if these employers find the talent, if they're going to get the talent that they need to fill the job. So we'll wait and see whether there's progress on that.
Just a quick, tiny factoid.
Yeah.
A state-level minimum wage ballot has never failed since 1996. I didn't know that. I just
and
learned that.
Arkansas and Missouri just passed
right.
theirs in the elections on Tuesday.